Hello to everyone, and in this video I wanted to give some information about supplier management when it comes to ISO 9001. And first of all, I wanted to explain which suppliers are to be considered within the quality management system when it comes to ensuring that the products and services being supplied by these suppliers are important to the management of the quality of our products and services. And to be able to explain my point in the most understandable way, I would like to start off by sharing with you the screen, which is an excerpt of the standard. And basically, when it comes to supplier management for ISO 9001, the requirements are gathered in clause 8.4 of the standard. And over here, the standard tells us that basically we should determine the controls that are to be applied to external providers of processes, products, and services in three particular reasons. The first reason is when we are buying products and services and incorporating these products and services to our own products and services. So if, for example, we are buying a certain product and reselling it, or modifying that product and reselling it, then the suppliers from which we are buying those products and services have to be included within the management of suppliers. The second instance is when products and services are provided directly to the customers by external providers. Okay, so in this case, we are considering scenarios where the company does not even receive the products or services themselves and then make any necessary adjustments and send them to the client, but instead the products are shipped or are delivered straight to the supplier, to the customers, of our organization. And in this case, we can consider that the suppliers are acting on our behalf, and therefore, yes, definitely, we have to consider suppliers when it comes to products and services that are delivered straight to the customer. And finally, we have to consider the evaluation of suppliers for processes or part of processes that are provided by external providers that form part of the integral way in which we work as a company. Okay, so just to give you an example of the first instance, let's say that we are a wholesaler of food and beverages. Therefore, the supplier, from where we buy the food and beverages, would be considered as an external provider that we have to evaluate. Another instance is where, for example, we are a contracting company, and we do not do the actual work ourselves, but we subcontract all the activities. For example, we subcontract builders. And in this case, since the builders are acting on our behalf as contractors, then we have to evaluate the performance given by our subcontractors. And in the third instance, if, for example, part of the invoicing process is being handled by an accountancy firm, then that accountancy firm falls part of the processes within our quality management system, and we have to make sure that the products and services being supplied by this external provider are actually important, and we have to evaluate the performance of these suppliers. And basically, that is the first thing I wanted to share with you, that we do not have to consider all the suppliers. Okay, if, for example, we are using stationery and we do not resell that stationery, then we do not need to necessarily include the supplier of stationery for our company. But if we feel that without stationery, our products and services might have problems, then it would be wise to make sure that we are getting the supply and delivery of stationery products within the scope of the supplier evaluation that we are considering for suppliers. Okay, so that is the first part that I wanted to speak about. And also in clause 8.4.1, we get information about what do we have to do as regards these critical suppliers. And basically the standard says that the organization shall determine and apply criteria for the evaluation, selection, monitoring of performance, and re-evaluation of external providers based on their ability to provide processes or products and services in accordance with requirements. Okay, and the fact that this information shall be retained as documented information indicates that we have to have some kind of records, some kind of information where we are storing this information. How do we apply this in practice? So basically, the way I approach this with my customers, with my clients, is that first of all, we create a list of all the suppliers, okay, that are critical to the operation of the company, as I have just explained. And then I would explain what type of products and services do these provide. I also like to give an estimate of the years of collaboration we have with each and every suppliers, because this helps us to provide context that we have been working with these suppliers for quite a long while, and especially suppliers with whom we have a long-standing relationship, then we certainly do not need to approve these suppliers once again. However, for new suppliers, especially for critical suppliers, it might be wise to first create some kind of system where we are going to evaluate the performance of our suppliers before actually moving forward and approving these suppliers. And for approved suppliers, we have to primarily do two main things. Okay, so first of all, we have to identify certain criteria on which we would like to evaluate the performance of our suppliers. And in this case, as you can see, I have chosen these three attributes, which are product quality, value for money, and complaint handling. This doesn't necessarily have to be your selection of criteria on which to evaluate your suppliers. And you can also have more criteria on which you evaluate your suppliers. But the important thing is to have some kind of metric, some kind of criteria that we are evaluating, our suppliers on. Secondly, we would want to give each and every of our suppliers a rating from 1 to 5 to evaluate their performance. Okay, so 1 in this case would be poor and 5 would be excellent. And based on this information, especially if we start comparing this information year over year over year, then we can get information about the performance that our suppliers are giving us. And that is the first topic and the most important topic when it comes to handling and managing of suppliers when it comes to ISO 9001. Also, I wanted to explain that this information will be discussed within the management review meeting. Okay, so the evaluation of suppliers, the performance of external providers, is one of the items on the agenda that we have to discuss during the management review meeting. And therefore, it's an excellent opportunity for us to evaluate the performance of our suppliers to make sure that the services and products that we are getting from our suppliers meet the demand of our customer and of our organization. And I also wanted to explain that with this mentality, we are achieving a system of continual improvement. Just like we ask our customers to give us an evaluation of how they feel that our products and services have met their needs, we are also seeking to get information about how our suppliers managed to meet and exceed, ideally, our expectations. And finally, I wanted to also share with you that this evaluation of the suppliers does not necessarily have to be communicated with our suppliers, but the most important thing is that, as I have discussed, this evaluation of suppliers will be one of the topics of the agenda within the management review meeting, so that then year over year, we would be in a position to evaluate the performance of our suppliers. And if we feel that one of the suppliers is reducing their performance to our organization, or if we feel that our supplier for the past year has not performed as well as we wanted, then we would have the data to take the appropriate action. And in a nutshell, that is the main requirement when it comes to ISO 9001-2015 as regards to supplier management. Moving on into the standard, I wanted to explain the type and extent of control. As I have explained, we do not need to go overboard with this management of suppliers when it comes to ISO 9001. However, it is good for us to ensure that the quality of the processes and products of our suppliers meet our requirements. Okay, so that's the first item within clause 8.4.2. That we define both the controls that we intend to apply on our external providers. Okay, so if, for example, we are receiving physical products from our suppliers so that we can resell, we can identify some kind of statistically significant sample size, where we are going to evaluate and check the quality characteristics of the products that we are purchasing. Moving on, we also have to take into consideration the potential impact of the externally provided processes, products, and services on our organization's ability to consistently meet customer and applicable statutory and regulatory requirements. It is important to keep in mind that whenever we are subcontracting a product, process, or service, we are still liable for any problems that our supplier might cause, and therefore it is wise for us to apply specific control measures to make sure that our suppliers are consistently providing a high quality product or service to our clients. And finally, we also have to determine the verification and other activities necessary to ensure that the externally provided processes, products, and services meet requirements. Okay, so in this case, they would be our requirements. And before jumping on to the final element that the standard talks about when it comes to supplier management for ISO 9001, I also wanted to give you another tip that you can consider to continually improve on your supplier management, and which could also be a fantastic source for us to take a factual approach to decision making when it comes to us giving ratings to our suppliers. Okay, and in this case, this is the corrective action. Okay, so as you might be aware, the corrective and preventive action system is one of the most important criteria and elements within our quality management system, which is basically the way in which we will be monitoring anything that didn't go well within our company. Okay, and granted, the corrective actions are typically used for customer complaints or also for internal issues within the company. However, sometimes we might also have problems with our suppliers, for example, due to bad shipments, short shipments. It can be that the items were delivered were damaged whilst they were being delivered. Or it can be that one of the subcontractors, one of the employees of our subcontractors was rude to our client, and our client was offended and they contacted us. So all of these are elements that can go wrong from the supplier's point of view that will have a direct impact on the quality of our organization. So if we keep track of such issues that are being caused by our suppliers within our corrective and preventive action system, then we are going to start keeping a track record of the performance of our suppliers. Okay, and the way I like to have this corrective and preventive action system in place is typically through a simple Excel sheet, okay, where, for example, in this case, we've had a supplier complaint on this particular day, okay? And in this case, the problem was that the cabinet buzzer was not working, okay? So it was a supplier complaint as a source of improvement. Over here, we would write the name of the supplier so that at the end of the year, we would be able to count the number of non-conformities or corrective actions that were caused by each individual supplier. And then we can go on with the standard process for handling a corrective action, where we can identify the action taken to solve the problem in the short term, identify the root cause, implement an action to solve permanently, and define the date of implementation. And finally, we are going to assign responsibility and find a date in which we are going to control that the implementation that we have found to the particular solution to solve the root cause that has caused the problem in this case has been actually solved. So the message that I'm trying to convey in this part of this explanation is that by keeping track of the non-conformities or problems that are caused by our suppliers within our quality management system, if we count them through our regular system for corrective actions, then we certainly have the right information that we need, which once again, this type of information will guide us to two different scenarios where we can update the information on the ratings that we are giving our suppliers, okay? Because, for example, if we note that one particular supplier is having a high rate of defective products, then within the supplier evaluation, we can say that the product quality is low. And this doesn't necessarily have to be an opinion of one individual person or of a team of people, but rather if we compile the information within the corrective action, then we are taking factual approach to decision making when it comes to supplier evaluation. Another topic that will guide us and help us to take the most benefit out of this ISO 9001 management system is that by collecting the information about the corrective actions and the ratings of our suppliers and discussing this information with an open mind during the management review meeting, then we are bound to always work with the right suppliers for our specific organization. And finally, when it comes to the supplier management, when it comes to ISO 9001, we also have to consider the information for external providers, okay? So just like in clause 8.2 within the standard, where we are making sure that we are gathering all the information needed from our customers to make sure that we understand exactly what they need from us, we are also going to make sure that we are communicating with our suppliers in an effective manner, whereby we are communicating with them all our requirements in an explicit way, so that we can make sure that our suppliers provide us with the right product, services, or processes that are needed for our organization. And basically, that is what this section is speaking about when it comes to clause 8.4, where, for example, we also have to identify if there are any specific competencies that are required by the employees of our supplier, if there are any external providers interaction with the organization, and the type of control and monitoring of the external provider's performance to be applied by the organization. And that is all I had to say when it comes to managing suppliers as per ISO 9001 requirements. I hope that you found this explanation useful and that it will help you to further grow your knowledge about ISO 9001. If you would like any further information, please feel free to visit our website, certificationmalta.com, or to get in touch with me personally on hello@lukdesira.com, and I would be very happy to help you out in any questions that you might have as regards ISO 9001. I wish you a great day ahead.